Hello, life-changing friends. I'm talking today the final conclusions of my reading and doing the experiments in this book, E Squared. And you can go back to the beginning. I will put a link to watch this right from the beginning, or you can just listen to my results and conclusion right now. So I've written down what happened. So there are 9 experiments. First experiment, to test whether there's a field of possibilities that will respond when you call. And you ask for, within 48 hours, a clear sign that cannot be coincidence. So I thought I got some potential responses, which I could have interpreted as answering this, or I could have interpreted them as coincidence, or I could have interpreted them as me just releasing some inhibitions on, that I would usually express. So that something happened, which was good for me, but inconclusive, right? So 2, you impact the field and pull out green cars and people you recognise. This was effective in that I went around looking for people I recognised, and I saw them everywhere, even when I didn't recognise them, actually, when I didn't know them. And I also saw a green car, which is something that I wouldn't normally have noticed. And because I saw it because I was looking for green cars. So it wasn't that there were more people I recognised or that there were more green cars. It was that there's something in my mind that I had changed by doing this experiment. Okay, and I'm just going to say quickly, so the scientific method of doing experiments is to demonstrate something without any confounders, right? And a confounder is something that could have caused it, that doesn't include there being a field of potential that is taking my requests seriously, right? Because if there's a thing in my usual understanding of reality that can and does completely explain the event, then there's no need for something that I can't see to be true, right? So, number 3, you too are a field of energy. This is the dowsing experiment, which is quite fun if you want to do it, or if you want to look at my video of it. It did appear to work, that when I thought tense-making thoughts, the dowsing rods crossed, and when I was more expansive internally, they went outwards. And the most conservative, the explanation that requires the least woo-ness is that my body tenses when I imagine a tense situation, and it relaxes when I don't. So experiment 4, whatever you focus on expands. Yes, that did work. So I set myself a goal, or I set the world a goal of producing a fee-paying gig, and I had an idea that I hadn't had before about how to do that, because I hadn't really focused on producing such a thing before. And but I didn't follow through on it because I was trying to test this manifesting idea that it would come to me. It didn't come to me. I had to offer it, and I have offered it, but it has yet to transpire and turn into money. Okay. So number 5, opening to the field produces accurate and unlimited guidance. Okay. So this is a yes, in fact. So this is the one which I went on for quite a while in another video, where I got a clear internal voice giving me some metaphors with which to understand things, with which to understand how human beings work in the world. And I have no doubt in my mind that this was my unconscious mind sending me a message in its usual coded form, because it's happened lots of times before, and the interpretation that I made seemed to make sense to me. It still does, right? But I have no need to invoke external anything for that, right? So 6, your thoughts impact matter. Okay, so this was the beans, growing beans, and sending good vibes to half of them and neglecting the other half. And unfortunately, the peas I chose have not germinated at all, and so I cannot give you an answer to this one. Your thoughts impact matter. This is number 6. Oh, sorry. Your thoughts provide the scaffolding for your physical body. So this was the one where sending my food, gratitude, helped me lose weight. In fact, it made me lose weight without intending to. And again, doing this experiment required me to pay attention to my food. And paying attention to my food meant all sorts of things happen that don't normally happen, including I noticed when I was eating good food and when I was eating bad food, and so I ate less bad food, more good food. I noticed that the good food made me feel better, tasted better, all that stuff. And I also, I also had a feeling of gratitude, which is enjoyable in itself, shall we say, whether or not it had any influence on the outcome. So again, there are confounders that would easily explain what happened without having to invoke some kind of weird thing. So number 8, you are connected to everything and everyone in the universe. This was me having to mentally shower my neighbour with blessings and ask him to contact me to invite me to something. He did not. I am not surprised. Not because I wasn't open to the possibility. In fact, I spent those 2 days kind of looking for him, right? Looking for him, checking my messages much more than usual, looking at his house as I passed, looking at anybody who, like, from the back might look like him. So it's not that thinking lovely thoughts and what would he like, and I hope he gets his Range Rover that he always wanted and all that stuff, and nothing happened, right? So that's a definite no. And finally, number 9, The universe is limited, limitless and abundant and strangely accommodating. And the experiment, it was to look for the beauty and wonder in the world. And I really enjoyed this. I had forgotten how lovely it is, and I am very grateful to Pam Grout, who wrote this book, for reminding me how lovely it is. So you're supposed to literally count your blessings. And I started to count them, but like within 3 minutes, there were more than I could possibly count. Right? And of course, that continued because that's how the world is. It's not that in my opinion and my experience, it's not that blessings and beauty and wonder are things that you have to go out of your way to find. They are all around us, all the time. And for those of you who don't have my natural skepticism and tendency to disbelieve anything, I'm going to tell you, about suggestibility. Right, this used to be quite a common topic in general society, that as human beings, we have an inbuilt suggestibility. So, an inbuilt, unconscious absorption of influence from outside ourselves. There was this wonderful experiment which was I can't remember who did it, but it was a psychology experiment, and it was a waiting room where the first person in the waiting room was a plant, as in was one of the experimenters. And when the first person came in, this person did some weird thing like standing up, going like this, and then sitting down every time someone came in. And after a while, the second person copied, and then the third person copied, and then the fourth person copied, and as that went on, the first person, who was the only one who knew it was kind of ridiculous and invented, left. So no one was left who knew why they were doing it, right? So we really are suggestible. And I think if you even think in your own experience that the same thing happens at work, doesn't it? That there's a kind of work culture of how something is done that is different from work to work. So when you first start in the job, you're kind of thinking, what on earth? And then you kind of do it the way it's done, because why not? Because you're new. And then you discover later on that the way it's done is actually anachronistic. It's actually not useful for the organization because it started before lots of things changed. Are you following me? Right. So the people who know quite how strong our suggestibility is are clinical trials doctors for clinical trials for drugs and hypnotists. So clinical trials doctors have to go a long way out of their way to be sure that the experimenters are not giving any clue whatsoever that that the patients the subjects are whether they're getting the real drug or the ineffective drug. And people say the placebo effect, right? But they don't realise that the placebo effect is not just that a pill, a sugar pill, will have an effect on your body. It's not just that you can give someone a sugar pill and their headache will get better. It's much bigger than that. It's much bigger than that. If you give someone a sugar pill, they will get side effects. If you give someone a sugar pill and say, well, I've never known this one to work, but give it a go, okay, then it won't work. But if you say, this pill is the best ever, I can't believe they brought out something so powerful and only charged £6 for each pill, right? So and if you're really enthusiastic about it, it will work. Okay, I mean, it doesn't work for very long. It does, the effect wears off, but the placebo effect. So if everybody on your street, everybody at your school is taking antidepressants of a particular kind, then you're going to think it's going to work. And if you're not really careful, you will also fall for it and it will work. And in that case, maybe that's good, right? Except that it's, whatever. It doesn't help you change your life in the way that might make it better in the longer term. But yeah. So my point is that even people who are incredibly skeptical fall for this, right? And you might not fall for it in your head, but you are suggestible, whether you like to think it or not. You can see that in an evolutionary sense, this would be useful. That you would stay with the tribe, that you would naturally avoid cliffs because everybody else was avoiding cliffs, that kind of thing. So, and I'm sure there are many more subtle ways in which it's very useful. And I'm thinking actually the development of culture itself is about this, about suggestibility. Even as somebody who's really not trendy, as you may have noticed, I kind of know what's in fashion because it's everywhere. Everybody is doing it. So suggestibility. So the people who really know a lot about suggestibility, people who really understand how it works and how to manipulate it, are hypnotists, right? Because that's their job. Their job is to get somebody into a frame of mind where their suggestibility is open to as much suggestion as possible, open to suggestions of things that you wouldn't normally think about, nor wouldn't normally believe, and then how to get you to listen, to how to influence it, right? To change things. So I'm just going to quickly read you a self-hypnosis thing, which I found very quickly on the internet, and it's far from unique. This is how it's done, right? So to hypnotize yourself in order to, for example, feel more confident, right? So but actually it's about feeling more confident. But have a think, just while I'm reading it, have a think about what it would be if it was about believing that there is a benign field of potential out there that was listening to you. Okay, so set your goal. Oh no, so make yourself comfortable. Set your goal. What do you want to get out of it? So that's number one, is send out a message to the field to tell it what you want from it. Okay. Go into the exercise with a clear goal. Focus your gaze, find something simple to look at. Breathe slowly and deeply, get relaxed. Continue to relax. Visualize. Using your senses, create a peaceful, mental, happy place where everything is as you wish. Then move on to your goal using visualization. Don't skimp on the detail. Make your scene as vivid as possible. So if you want to sleep better, feel yourself tucked into bed with your soft sheets. Hear the hum of the fan as you breathe peacefully in the cool darkness and drift towards sleep. Affirm your goal. So you say to yourself mentally, I am falling asleep. I am waking refreshed. I am speaking confidently without feeling nervous. That sort of thing. So is this sounding familiar to you? Is this sounding familiar to you? And then, the evidence is that hypnosis works with a large proportion of people, especially those considered susceptible. So there we are. So I just want you to let that sink in, and to, when you're reading this book, just notice how many times in each chapter, how many fun stories, how many quotes, how many whatever are literally deliberately pointing to you letting go of what you know about the world. I mean, why would you want to do that? So, which brings me to my conclusion, right? My conclusion is that the experiments that required quantum entanglement, that required me to influence the physical world beyond me, failed. And the ones that worked were the ones about dropping the filters, right? So, or you could say about replacing the self-limiting filters with more wholesome ones, right? More. It's not that they're more open exactly, but they're just more wholesome. So it's about changing the way my mind is set up in order to extract the most joy and the most gratitude and the most personal experience of luck. So it may interest you to know that there was an experiment about lucky people, that lucky people are actually no more lucky than unlucky people. Lucky people are the people who believe they're lucky, right? So, so there you are. After my reading this book, which is beautifully written, it's entertaining, amusing, easy to read, short. It's got lots of fun anecdotes and quotes from wise people, and so I'm not saying anything about the book, how the book is written. What I am taking issue with is the idea that the changes that you make in your mind change the physical universe. not in my experience. And, you know, I'm sure that there are people who will tell me I did it wrong. And all I can say is, I think that there is a limit. There is a limit to what you can change of reality by wishful thinking. And this is for somebody of my age, one of my greatest wishes is to be fully healthy until I suddenly drop down dead without any pain. And this is not something that will ever happen, but I do believe from my own experiences that whether or not I am in pain or limited or disabled or whatever, I can sincerely change my perception. Well, no, not my perception, but yes, I guess so, my happiness level by just letting the negative, the gloomy ideas go, right? And anyone who knows anything about mindfulness and Zen and whatever will know that that's where the Buddha came from, right? The Buddha was saying suffering is unnecessary. But he wasn't saying bad things will never happen to you, right? If you meditate enough. What he was saying is the world is intrinsically beautiful. You are intrinsically beautiful, and it's only the thoughts, clinging on to your thoughts, believing your thoughts, that stop you from seeing that. So mindfulness is about letting go. And I think that this whole idea of manifesting is an attempt to kind of concretize that. Maybe for people who don't think of themselves as having control over how they think, maybe, I don't know. But what I would say is, if you wanted to read this book in order to feel happier, in order to suffer less, then there is a much more direct way to do it. That is based in the actual reality of what human beings are like. So I think that's the end of this. I'm not going to go through the whole, my usual scorecard for this one. Yeah. So because I've said what I wanted to say about it, and I wish you less suffering and happy reading, and see you soon.